movie fans, we're reunited and it feels so good. We had a nice time away, but we're back. And so, something that Josh and I love more than anything else is DC Comics.
Amen.
We're not, like, obsessive fanboys, but when it comes to the DC Marvel war, we side more with DC, than we do with Marvel. Not that we don't like Marvel. I enjoy Marvel very much. They, at the moment, make better movies. But DC still has some good properties. And so, with DC on the horizon of making more movies, they had this whole slate of upcoming films, we thought we'd take a look at some characters that we really hope show up in this new universe, because when this new universe comes in, we got a lot of new opportunities. Now, we set some guidelines for this. We can't have anyone on this list that has already been confirmed. So, names like Batman, Superman, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Flash, all those are out because they've been confirmed. Yeah. We also tried to narrow it down to one per comic issue. So you won't see an overwhelming number of characters from Batman. You won't see an overwhelming number of characters from Superman, so on and so forth. We tried to be fair. So, Josh, what are we starting us off with at number 5?
Well, number 5 is possibly one of my favorite cartoons growing up. I don't know about you, but Saturday morning came, you had all your cartoons, and then it would play the opening theme to Static Shock. And it was just, the show was so much fun. The character of Static Shock is so much fun in general. Yeah. It adds kind of, I don't want this to be the reason I want it, but it adds a certain amount of color to the cast.
Yes, and not just Cyborg.
Yeah, so it's not just Cyborg. And I'm not saying that would be the only reason you would need him, because he is a great character on his own. Yes. He's so much fun.
He's good any color, but it was nice for him to be a different color than basically every other Justice League member besides Cyborg, and it would add nice variety. Like, even Marvel learned that you have to have more than just Nick Fury. They added Falcon, and now they're adding Black Panther. Yeah. It adds nice diversity to the group.
It does.
And it adds a nice bit of nostalgia. As a kid, I didn't even realize that Static was a part of a greater universe. I just knew him as the cartoon character, and he's actually a comic book character in DC Universe.
I actually only found out like 3 months ago. So I was like, oh, this is great. Let's bring him in, man.
Yeah, because our generation already knows him because we grew up watching him. He's not a particularly hard character to explain to people. He's
got electricity powers.
He's a cooler version of Electro, and he's got a lightning bolt hoverboard, which, how is that not awesome?
That's awesome, man.
So far in this DC universe, all the characters we met are distinctly older. Static, I remember being a high schooler, so it would be interesting, kind of like a Spider-Man dynamic of being a younger character, and I think that would very much suit the film. Now, at number 4, we went with one that actually is already established, but not in the film universe. We went with Green Arrow, because we both very much like this character. Yeah. The character of Green Arrow is fantastic no matter what iteration you want to go with. The more serious and brooding, like Batman, or the more comedic one, like kind of Flash or Green Lantern is nowadays. Either way, he's a lot of fun, but he has to be distinct. And then the people over at DC have said that the movie universe and the TV universes will be two separate things, but I still very much want a Green Arrow in the movie universe and not just relegate him to the TV universe. We're going to have two different Flashes,
so why not Green Arrow?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Who would you want to play him, though?
Depends on the version. If we go with the more serious and brooding guy, I'll go with Sons of Anarchy and Pacific Rim's Charlie Hunnam. He's got that look, he's got that kind of
beard is
gruff persona. But if we're going for the more comedic, politically minded, just I'm here for the humor, and I'm basically a knock of Robin Hood, so I'm going to have fun with it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Ewan McGregor, because Ewan McGregor is amazing at everything, and if you look at the whole design for Obi-Wan and how he interacted with other characters, he kind of already has that going with the goatee and the...
Yeah.
He has fun in whatever role he's in, and I think that really screams Green Arrow to me if you go with the more fun version of Green Arrow.
I would agree, and I think, honestly, if it comes down to it, I would prefer the Ewan McGregor, because I like Static, you now have more characters that are not godlike, and Batman, be it that he's a man with gadget, is still godlike. But now you have some more characters in the lineup that are not as godlike, but there are still awesome characters and can hold their own against anything they come up against. And that is why we need a Green Arrow. And we need a comedic Green Arrow. Because you got to have your Green Lantern and your Green Arrow and your Flash and their quips. Because you got to... I'm not quips. Jokes.
Yes, they're not going to be it's not going to be an Avengers thing. Moving on to the more optimistic, number 3, we're going to move on to the God of War.
God of War?
No, not that God of War. We're going to go with Ares. One of Wonder Woman's main rivals.
Oh, man.
Just looking at his design alone, he screams for a movie adaptation.
It would make such a great movie to have Ares. He's dark, he's brooding. He's really would be a challenge for anybody, even Superman, to face.
And I think people give Zack Snyder a lot of flack for being a visually minded, but not the best storyteller. I personally, he's growing on me significantly. And I know one of the films that he's most known for is 300. And I think his design and his look for 300 would be perfect for Ares, now that I think about it. If he, not direct it, I think you... Actually, personally, I think you need a female director for Wonder Woman. I've long since thought that. Just to capture the power of Wonder Woman correctly. But the design for Wonder Woman and the design for Ares especially is very much the Spartan way, the Spartan warrior. And Zack Snyder has that past with 300. So if you bring him on just as like a producer, which I think he very much will be, like Joss Whedon is for the Marvel Universe, of someone to basically oversee it, he would be perfect for this character who's basically this god of war. Just wants this destruction and loves this kind of chaos, but is like a nitty-gritty soldier. Like I was first introduced to the character recently in the Injustice games, and that as soon as I saw his design and the way he acted, I was like, I need to see more of this guy. And I really think it would be beneficial to the character to see him in the big screen, because Wonder Woman actually has a pretty decent rogues gallery, but he's the one that stands heads and shoulders above everybody else if he hasn't decapitated the heads of those other competitors already, because he's such an immense and intense character and imposing figure. Let's move on to our number 2 pick, which is what, Josh?
Darkside, man. It's the villain of the Justice League. I mean, you can't have the Justice League and not have Darkside, who's literally just
a god.
He's amazing. I remember reading comics which that alone is a very nerdy sentence. But I remember reading Justice League comics and him and Superman literally duking it out to the edge of space.
The animated series, when they go to town,
oh my
Superman is the only one that can really stand toe-to-toe with Darkseid. And Darkseid can take Superman at his best, as we've seen numerous times. One of my first introductions to the character was in New 52's Justice League War, which basically Darkseid brings his whole army to Earth and makes the Justice League form. And it was such an engaging story. It wasn't the best comic I've ever read, but it was a good introduction to the world. And without Darkseid, there really, in the new world of comics, without Darkseid, there really wouldn't be a Justice League. And you need something big. You need something to really bring the whole team together. And I would make the case that we really haven't had that in a superhero movie. When you think about it, Avengers movies, you didn't actually need the whole team. Your first movie was Loki. That could have just been Thor trying to get that
It could have been, and maybe like Thor and...
The very end, yes, you needed everybody, because that was an army. Once again, Ultron. You needed a whole army, but for Ultron himself, probably should have been the villain for Iron Man 3 instead of Mandarin Oranges. But
oh my gosh,
that wasn't the Mandarin. But whereas Darkseid, even if he doesn't have an army behind him, he alone can stand toe-to-toe with the Justice League. And they need to combine their forces to take out just him. He doesn't need the army behind him to be powerful, but it only adds to this general-like status that he kind of just has. He's a god among gods in the comics. He is the guy to mess with.
The issue, and I think you and I have discussed this many a time, the issue that DC is going to run into is looking like a copycat. Because Marvel has copied a lot over time from DC,
but got it out first.
but got it out to the general movie-going audience first. So the biggest thing, though, I think, would be people would be like, "Yo, Thanos and Darkseid."
Because
issue is that Darkseid is huge.
The thing is, though, Justice League will come out 2017, not very far away from the next Avengers, Infinity Wars Part 1 and Part 2, which will have Thanos. Two characters very, very similar. If you don't go with Darkseid, you probably go with Brainiac, another big Justice League villain, who bears a striking resemblance to Ultron. So, either way, they're going to have an uphill battle in terms of winning over the casual movie fan. But by and large, we think Darkseid is probably the best choice in terms of villains to bring the heroes together and probably be a recurring threat because he's so powerful. There's a character, not the most powerful character on the list, but by far the one with the most interesting story possibilities and the most potential, most untapped potential, probably of any comic book character, Marvel or DC. My boy, I keep talking about all the time until it happens. Nightwing is easily our number one character that needs to be in this DC universe. And Josh, before I explode in a temper tantrum as to why he needs to be in this universe, you calmly explain why he needs to be in it.
Honestly, because he's the most interesting of Batman's sidekicks.
Not even sidekick
and
anymore.
The only one that goes off on his own. And that, to me, there's a lot of emotional depth there. Probably maybe more emotional depth than even Batman. Now, granted, all the stuff that I've read that Ben Affleck is bringing to the new Batman role is amazing, and there's so much depth there. But the almost father-son relationship.
There's numerous stories you can go because his parents died, like Bruce Wayne and Batman's. You could go with the family dynamic. There's two stories right there because he's got that tension with his father-like figure of Batman. You could go with maybe the strained relationship even more so if you chose to go with the story of Batman dying, which causes Nightwing to have to embrace this character of Batman because he realizes Gotham needs Batman and he really has to embrace this kind of responsibility, which would be even more emotional for him. But also, honorable mention to Red Hood, but
yes,
that's more or less...
Make it happen. Make it happen. Red Hood. Live action.
We left Red Hood off this list because it's heavily speculated he's already going to be in this universe in the first Batman standalone movie. As a couple names on this list are rumored, but nothing's been confirmed yet. This one, we really think Nightwing, there's a lot of good story opportunities to go with. You could have him in a supporting role. You can have him in a bigger role. Maybe... I don't think the world is ready just yet for a Nightwing standalone movie, but maybe a Nightwing-led Teen Titans movie, which could bleed into the Cyborg movie, because if rumors are to be believed to be true, they're moving away from the concept of the Cyborg movie, which was confirmed, to more of a Teen Titans team-oriented movie, which I think is a better choice.
I would agree,
Probably with Nightwing. Nightwing is a great character all around, with a great design, with much appeal. He has a massive untapped fan base. There's a huge cry for Nightwing to be in more stuff. Hence why he's in more stuff now, like animated movies, the Arkham series. And he's grown in popularity so much so that basically not to include him at this point would really tick off a lot of fans. Well, now that we've done nerding out for a little bit for today, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Who would you like to see either from the TV universe or the comics and the world of DC? Let us know. Well, if you like what you see and you want to see more, subscribe to the channel or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at 17 Movie Reviews. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals.